Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Watercooler Quarterback. My name is Andrew, and on today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at the weirdest division in the NFL. Which division is that, you may ask? Well, you saw the title of this video, so you probably already know that it's the NFC South. Last year, this division was decided by just one game. One game separated the first place team from the second place team, and also from the third, and also from the fourth. Yes, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the division with a record of 8-9, and then the Panthers, Saints, and Falcons all had a 7-10 record. So if there is one division this year that is wide open and up for grabs, it's definitely this one. This painfully average division has not always been like this, though. It's important to remember that the NFC South has been one of the more successful divisions since the divisions were realigned back in the early 2000s. Every team has made the Super Bowl at least once since then. The only other division that can claim this feat is the NFC West. Guys like Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, and Cam Newton used to run this division, keeping it hotly contested at all times. And with all of them gone, it's only a matter of time before a new team stakes their claim. Let's start off with the winners of the division last year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Only a few years removed from their Super Bowl victory, it's clear that they've been on a bit of a decline. And with the loss of Tom Brady, of course, I'm a little worried about what they're going to be able to bring to the table this year. We're now looking at an offense that is either going to run through Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. Now, I do think that it's Baker's job to lose, but in what could be his last real opportunity here in the NFL, I do think that Baker needs to perform this year. Mayfield, of course, in the last couple of years has bounced around from the Browns to the Panthers to the Rams for a little bit last year and now to the Buccaneers. And if he can't play well, it's entirely possible that the NFL just starts to pass him by. That said, I do think he has an opportunity to have a successful season here. The Buccaneers are going to rely heavily on their two wide receivers, both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. These guys are great wide receivers, and I think Baker can make great use of them. Mike Evans is looking to log his 10th straight 1,000-yard receiving season, and Chris Godwin certainly can't be overlooked, what with his 104 receptions last year. Rachaad White is now officially in at running back 1 with Leonard Fournette no longer being on the team, and though his rushing stats were nothing to be super impressed by last year, him not being the starter for a majority of the last season means that you kind of have to take some of those stats with a grain of salt. With him having full control over the backfield this year, it'll be interesting to see what he's truly made of. And then there's the Buccaneers' defense. Their defense has taken quite a step back from their top 5 finish the year before last, and found themselves kind of middle of the pack in a lot of important categories last year. But hanging on to some important guys like Jamel Dean and Levante David should give the Buccaneers still some really good players on that defense. And throwing in first-round pick Kalijah Kancey to that defensive line should give the defense a much-needed boost. So on both the offense and the defensive side of the ball, the Buccaneers do have some things to figure out. But I think they've got some players at some key positions and do have some promise moving forward. Moving on to Carolina, the Panthers, like much of the rest of the division, were looking to greatly shake things up after the 2022 season. Last year saw the firing of head coach Matt Rule after the team started just 1-4. And though they did improve under the interim coach Steve Wilks, they elected to not bring him back to lead the team this season. Instead, they bring in Frank Reich, who was unceremoniously sent packing from Indianapolis. Reich is a solid head coach, and as a former quarterback himself, should be able to provide some great mentorship to their brand new rookie QB. But we'll talk about Bryce Young in a moment. Because in a year of change, the head coaching spot was not the only position that saw turnover. In the middle of the season, the Panthers traded away star running back Christian McCaffrey to the San Francisco 49ers in return for a load of draft picks. And in this offseason, the Panthers paid a premium to move up from their 9th overall pick in the draft to 1st overall, giving a whole bunch of picks to the Bears, as well as sending away wide receiver DJ Moore. This, of course, did help them grab the guy who they hope will be the quarterback of the future, Bryce Young. Young, coming out of Alabama, was basically unanimously considered the best quarterback in this draft and finds himself surrounded by quarterback mentorship. As I mentioned, head coach Frank Reich was a quarterback. He's got a quarterbacks coach in Josh McCown, and the Panthers elected to bring in veteran QB Andy Dalton. So this guy has more than enough years of experience surrounding him to make him a successful starter in the NFL. Unfortunately, blowing up your team in order to grab a new franchise quarterback means giving up a lot of the guys that would have made life easier for Bryce Young in the first place. As I mentioned, both wide receiver DJ Moore and running back Christian McCaffrey are no longer with the team, two guys that certainly would have helped the development of this young quarterback. Bryce Young now finds himself surrounded by a sort of Frankenstein's monster of other successful offenses from around the NFL. They bring in Minnesota's Adam Thielen, Detroit's DJ Chark. They also grab Cincinnati's Hayden Hurst and Philadelphia's Miles Sanders. So they have some good pieces. None of them are really, huge standout guys, but they should make for a decently effective offense. This mishmash of other teams' offensive pieces could result in a very successful offensive season, or it could result in a relatively average one. Now, the Panthers' defense last year left a bit to be desired. They were okay in a lot of areas and average in some others, but in a division that is as open as the NFC South, I suppose that's all you really need. With a defense consisting of guys like Brian Burns, Shaq Thompson, and J.C. Horn, the defense should perform better than it did last year. Theoretically, if the offense is a little bit better, I'm going to assume that the defense gets a bit better in tandem. Now, the New Orleans Saints are a team that I have rooted for since I was a little kid. I can't really explain it, being a kid from the Pacific Northwest, having no ties to the state of Louisiana, but there was just something that I really liked about their Super Bowl run, and ever since, Drew Brees has been one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. Watching him get booted from the playoffs by Tom Brady, of all people, well, it hurt. But the days of Sean Payton and Drew Brees are long gone now, and today's Saints are looking to reclaim some of that former glory, and I do think have a pretty good shot at taking the division. Last year saw quarterback play from Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton, and even sometimes Taysom Hill. So when Derek Carr became available this offseason, you can bet the Saints were pretty excited to grab him. Carr is a really good quarterback. He may not be a Mahomes or an Allen or a Burrow, but he can get a team to the playoffs. He's done it before, and once you get to the playoffs, well, anything can happen. As much as the Saints wanted Derek Carr, it was clear that Derek Carr wanted the Saints. And it's easy to see why when you take a look at the offense that now surrounds him. Garrett Wilson on the Jets may have won Offensive Rookie of the Year, but Chris Olave here on the Saints had virtually the exact same season. Michael Thomas has been frequently injured for the last couple of years, but when he's healthy, he's able to put up unbelievable numbers. Juwan Johnson is a pretty solid tight end, and they even brought back Jimmy Graham for one more year. And then, of course, there's Taysom Hill, who's listed as a tight end, but plays more of a quarter-wide running tight back type position. He plays everything. Now, of course, there is a question mark at the running back position given Alvin Kamara's legal issues, but I think with rookie Kendre Miller and bringing in Jamal Williams out of Detroit last year, I think their rushing game should be just fine. Their defense has also got a whole cast of names as well. Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, Marshawn Lattimore, Tyrann Mathieu, these guys all work together to form a really good defense. And when I say really good defense, I mean they were top 10 last year. Something kind of weird I found in my research about the Saints is that though they ranked 29th in hurries and pressures on quarterbacks, they somehow ranked 5th in sacks. I don't really know how that happens, but take those numbers however you will. Despite their ability to get to but also not get to the quarterback, their secondary was absolutely locked down last year, second only to the Eagles in passing yards allowed. And while their run defense was a little lackluster last year, I think if their defense can stay the course with the added boost of Derek Carr on the offense, I think this could be a tough team to stop. Now, finally, in Atlanta, the Falcons, after the 2022 season, were a team that knew what they did well and knew what they did poorly. What they did well in 2022 has been doubled down upon, and what they did poorly has hopefully been fixed by throwing boatloads of money at the issue. Unlike most teams in this series, we're actually going to start off by talking about the Falcons' defense. They ranked 23rd and 25th in rushing and passing defense last year, respectively. They gave up a lot of yards and a lot of points. Lucky for them, though, they had the second most money heading into free agency this offseason, and they were just handing out defensive contracts like it was going out of style. Their D-line is revamped with guys like Calais Campbell and David Onyemata. New linebackers Caden Ellis and Lorenzo Carter are going to lock down the middle of the field, and safety Jesse Bates and corner Jeff Okudah get added to a secondary that are going to look to lock down teams this year. This defense is an all-new beast. It was clearly the priority in free agency, and hopefully with these new added pieces, they can get out of the 20s in both rushing and passing defense. Now back over on the offensive side of the ball, let's talk about what the Falcons did really, really well, and that is they ran the crap out of the football. Tyler Algier posted over 1,000 yards in his rookie campaign last year behind an O-line that Pro Football Focus had ranked in their top 5. At an amazing 4.9 yards a carry, this dude was clearly an integral piece of their offense. But remember earlier when I said that they doubled down on what worked last year? Well, that's because in this year's draft, they went ahead with the 8th overall pick and grabbed running back Bijan Robinson. Bijan has been lauded as the next all-time great running back, a generational talent coming out of Texas. So this rushing attack with both Bijan and Tyler Algier should be out of this world. Barring an injury to either of those guys, I think anything outside of a top 3 rushing offense could be considered a disappointment to Atlanta. Now, the rushing offense is great, and that's fantastic. We're all happy about that. The passing game, well, that's something else. The Falcons ended the year with the second worst passing offense in the entire league. Quarterback Marcus Mariota was released, and for the last 4 games of the season, rookie Desmond Ridder stepped in and took the reins. In his 4 games, Desmond Ridder had just 2 touchdowns, but he had no interceptions, which is great. He threw for a total of 700 yards, which is less than 200 a game, but in a 4-game sample size, I'm willing to look past his kind of subpar performance and look forward to see what he can do with a full season at the helm. Heading into 2023, Desmond Ridder is protected by a great O-line, has a generationally talented running back behind him, a tight end who's just itching to break out in Kyle Pitts, and a great young receiver in Drake London. So the stage is set. This team is ready to go. It's just up to Ridder to deliver. So we've looked at all 4 teams here in the NFC South, 4 teams that, of course, were separated by only 1 game last year. This division is by far the toughest to call yet. Much like the NFC North, any of these teams could land anywhere in the division, and I wouldn't be surprised. But if I were a betting man, which I'm not because Washington State doesn't allow it, this is how I think the division will shake out. In 4th place, I'm going to have to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This team could be really good, but after posting a losing season last year and then losing Tom Brady, it's hard to imagine them doing anything but regressing. In 3rd, I'm going to have to put the Carolina Panthers. What? No, I know. Hey, no, come here. I know, buddy. I'm sorry. I would love to put the Panthers in 1st place. I really would. I know Bryce Young's going to be good. He should be great. I just don't think this is the year that it all comes together. They've got a smattering of good talent, but is it going to put them over the hump? I don't know. I'm sorry, Panthers fans. He's not happy. I think this year we'll just wait and see if Bryce Young is capable, if he's going to be really good, if he's the guy. Hopefully he is. And then in next year or the year after that, maybe they can start putting some real pieces around him and build a team for the future. Now, of course, that leaves us with the Saints and the Falcons. The Falcons, on offense at least, are a younger team, budding with potential. And their defense has got a lot of new faces, so it should be improved. Then there's the Saints, a team of more known quantities. We kind of know what we're getting with guys like Derek Carr and those guys on the defense. And simply put, I think that they are a safer choice. The Falcons, I think, have a higher ceiling, but also have a lower floor than the Saints. But enough stalling. Who do I actually think is going to win the division? I'm going to have to bet on the upside of the Atlanta Falcons. Their run game is unreal. Their passing game has the potential to be phenomenal. And though their defense was not great last year, it's been completely reworked. And I think they have an opportunity to really stake their claim on the NFC South. Now, of course, we come to my favorite segment where we go over some storylines in the division. This division should not be the mediocre mess that it was last year. It's got some awesome opportunities for some great players. So let's take a look. In Tampa Bay, I'm excited to just watch Baker Mayfield give this season all he's got. As we talked about, this could be his last real opportunity in this league. This is a guy that loves football just so much. It is so obvious how much he loves this game, and I want the best for him, so I can't wait to watch him just absolutely rip it for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year. He's got good receivers. I think that Tampa should have some faith in him and just unleash him. I think that it'll be fun to watch. Whether he's really good or really bad, maybe he pulls a Jameis Winston 30 touchdown, 30 interception season. I don't care. I just want to see this guy have some fun and play some ball. Now, the obvious story in Carolina, of course, is if the first overall pick of the draft, Bryce Young, pans out. They sold the farm to go get this guy. It's time to see if it's going to pay off. In New Orleans, I'm here to see Chris Olave absolutely go to work with Derek Carr as his quarterback. After posting the season he did last year with the quarterbacks he had last year, I can't wait to see what this guy is capable of with Derek Carr throwing him the ball. Could he be Derek Carr's new Devontae Adams? We'll see. And finally, over in Atlanta, I'm excited to watch this new defense go to work. All of these new toys, all of these new pieces. Can they fit together? Can they all gel and make a great defensive unit? I certainly hope so. I'm picking them to win the division, so I think that this defense is going to be better than it was last year. I can't wait to see what they're made of. As always, thank you all so much for watching another episode of Watercooler Quarterback. This division series has been a lot of fun, and there's only 3 left, which means football is right around the corner. I cannot wait. If you want to see more content like this before the season and as the season progresses, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know when these videos drop. Until next time, my name is Andrew, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.